So last night was very tense. I want to start off by playing you this video. Breaking: global Samud Flotilla leader Thiago Avila wrecks IDF soldier. Israel is threatening to confiscate their boats. So this was before the flotilla was seized. Here is a radio conversation between the Israeli military and one of the flotilla activists. This is pretty good.
If you could and attempt to breach the naval blockade, we will stop your vessel and act to confiscate it through legal proceedings in court. You bear full responsibility for your actions.
Say that we are entering an active war zone. You're saying that we are entering a place where we are committing war crimes. This is against international law. Once again, the International Court of Justice made a provisional ruling that any attempt to hinder a humanitarian mission to Gaza is prohibited by international law and is complying with the request to make you accountable for the crime of genocide. The International Criminal Court has your Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu under an arrest warrant for the crime of starving children and starving people to death, using starvation and famine as a weapon of war. Therefore, it's our moral duty to continue sailing. It's our moral duty to refuse any attempt of an occupying force to control humanitarian aid for the Palestinian people in Gaza, who have the right of their sovereignty, who have the right of their self-determination, and to control their own borders. Therefore, we do not recognize you as a legitimate agent to control any attempt to bring aid to the Palestinian people in Gaza. We request you to stand down, to do not commit another war crime among so many that you've been committing, and to stand down. Do not engage with our peaceful, non-violent, humanitarian solidarity mission for the Palestinian people in Gaza. I advise you again.
There you go. Brave man right there. Well, breaking: Israeli pirates attack humanitarian mission in international waters. So they were apprehended last night through the morning. Let's take a look.
Donc là, vous voyez l'interception. Là, on a un autre bateau qui appartient à la flottille. Et là, tout ce que vous voyez dans les petits bateaux, c'est les zodiacs israéliens. Généralement, il y a un drone au-dessus qui fait la surveillance. Là, c'est une interception d'un de nos bateaux.
So there were a lot of vessels here as part of this flotilla, and some of them did actually penetrate Gaza waters. This was the first time since 2009 that any unauthorized vessel had actually made it through the blockade into Gaza's waters. And so here is, on another ship here, flotilla member Tommy Marcus gives an update sharing how close the global Samud flotilla, is now to Gaza.
It's like genuinely starting to be hopeful that we could make it to Gaza. And that's not like... right? I think we're all kind of feeling it right now. We do have kind of a bright light shining on us right now. A lot of boats have broken the blockade. This is the large Israeli ship, I believe, approaching us right now. Alana says they're giving us a good selfie light. Someone just mentioned 3 hours till daybreak. Things change a lot when it gets bright outside, so they definitely feel pressed. How far in terms of time are you from Gaza? I think like 6 hours. 5 hours? We're really fucking close.
Alright, they're coming fast though, guys.
Alright, get ready. Last time they came, they sprayed sulfur water on us and then on themselves and then went in a circle.
Oh! Stop! You're getting it all over the place.
They can't seem to figure out how to do it.
So now what is this? Like,
see, as a former golf
water?
caddy, they could have hired me for assistance on which way the wind blows, but...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like smelly water.
Yep. Yep, trying to get them to turn around. And like I said, they did get very close, and this is part of the strategy here. They had over 50 vessels as part of the flotilla to start with, and then some of them had mechanical issues and couldn't make the full voyage, but they had over 40 and around 500 members as part of the cumulative crew and fleet, if you will. So here's a kind of a fun video by Greg Stoker here. 2:50 a.m. local time. Israeli Navy trying to spray us with skunk water, as we saw in the last video. Still in international waters, save Gaza. Here's Greg Stoker.
Every time I stand in front of these fucking closed doors.
That's a good spirit right there. Well, sad to announce, 4:46 a.m. East Coast time this morning, 40 boats of the global Samud flotilla have now been seized. Only 12 remain and are speeding toward Gaza at top speed with Israeli military vessels behind them in the distance. Okay, so I guess they did get over 50 in total. I know a couple of them dropped out of the fleet, but I guess they still had over 50. So yes, these were mostly seized as of when this tweet went out. Some have recently since been seized. Ryan Rosbiani tweets out, Israel has kidnapped 497 people from 46 countries from the global Samud flotilla. This is a humanitarian mission. Now it has become a global kidnapping by Israel. One of those detained now is the grandson of Nelson Mandela, Mandela. Here he is giving one of his videos, which they record in advance. If you're reading this, it's because I've been apprehended.
My name is Nkosi Zwelithini Mandela, a citizen of the Republic of South Africa. I am participating in a non-violent mission on the global Samud flotilla, taking humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. If you are receiving this video, it means I have already been intercepted and abducted by the Israeli forces. I call on you as the citizens of South Africa to call on our government for my immediate release.
Sorry about that, folks. That was one of many, many videos of that kind to be released over the past few hours. The Global Samud Flotilla tweeted out a thread of similar video announcements of people who have now been kidnapped and detained. I quote tweeted that with a simple point finger down so I can pin that to my profile. So if you go to the Due Dissidence X page, you can see that's the pinned post, so you can watch as many of them as you'd like. The list goes on forever. That's how many people have now been ensnared in this. And so as this news was breaking overnight, protests erupted worldwide. So this is pretty inspiring to see. This is a montage that Breakthrough News put together. Rome, Naples, Berlin, So that's just the tip of the iceberg. From Italy to Belgium, Turkey, France, Germany, Greece, and beyond, people are taking to the streets right now in protest against Israel's attack on the global Samud flotilla. Protest outside the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. So you had protests just break out everywhere in response to this, including some right in New York City. There was one in Astoria, Steinway Street, 30th Ave. This one footage shows both the heroes and the absolute worst of humanity the moment Israeli forces attacked the ship Florida. So here's some footage of the IDF boarding one of the vessels. This is a little choppy because obviously signal was spotty. There they are, guns pointed at them. Like I said, the video's a little choppy, but yeah, that's the price. That's the price you pay for this, and just incredibly brave to be doing this. So
Yep.
now we have a dispatch later this morning, from the last ship standing. Eye on Palestine tweets out, urgent update from what we believe is the last boat sailing to Gaza from the Samud flotilla, the Marinettes. So here is a dispatch from the last boat, which at this time had not yet been seized. We understand now they have since tweeted, the Samud flotilla, that all of the boats have been intercepted. None made it to land. They did penetrate Gaza waters. First time any vessel has penetrated Gaza waters in 16 years.
Hi, Nita. Yeah, this is Cameron, and we're on the Marinette. And I believe we are the last boat standing. We've had some famous issues with our engine, which was unreliable, but last night it proved to be extremely reliable and just steamed through the night and got us here. We didn't think we'd get here, but here we are. I believe all the other boats have been intercepted or are presumed intercepted, but we're going to continue steaming there. We've got a bunch of very tough Turks on board who are doing a lot of interviews with Turkish media, and we've got a lady from Oman and myself, and yeah, we're just going to continue in the direction, and we don't know when we're going to meet the visitors.
They did eventually meet the visitors, and all of the vessels part of the Samud flotilla were stopped before reaching the Gaza shore. There are reinforcements behind them. However, update, 45 vessels are reportedly sailing towards Gaza from Turkey in support of the global Samud flotilla. Here they are.
Elhamdülillah, elhamdülillahi rabbil alemin, elhamdülillahi rabbil alemin. Gazze senin için, Filistin, özgür Filistin için. İnna fetehna leke fethen mubina. Sumut, yalnız mısın zannettin? Arkandayız. Seninleyiz Sumut. Gazze seninleyiz.
So, because you had hundreds of people from 46 different countries, you just saw, we showed you the tip of the iceberg. There were protests in Mexico. There were several in America, all throughout Europe, North Africa. The president of Malaysia issued a statement. You just saw the global outpouring of support for this action. And, I think part of what you're seeing here is the world, and it's really the Western world. It's certainly not the whole world, but the most powerful forces on earth are really just willing to destroy the world for this crazed, genocidal, apartheid state. And that's not an exaggeration when I say destroy the world, because the message you're sending to the entire world here, as represented by everyone on this flotilla and the countries that they represent, is that international law means nothing. It is an illegal act. It is an illegal, the whole project of Israel is an illegal act. The blockade is illegal. Kidnapping people in international waters is illegal. And what you're seeing here is the West willing to just destroy international law, to really destroy any semblance of order based on justice that exists in the world, and replace that with a simple might makes right kind of attitude. And so what you're forcing people to do is to simply not stop protesting, disrupting, striking until their leaders get the message that this is not acceptable. Like this is the only choice you're leaving people, because what the message you're sending is that the law does not matter. Justice does not matter. What good is international law if the United States and the Western allies of Israel are willing to just allow them to kidnap people at sea and blockade the Gaza Strip and prevent aid from coming in? Like, I think what you're starting to, what you're really sending a message out into the world is that might makes right, and we don't care. We don't care what any justice-based order has to say. It has no teeth. International law, why even cite international law? Why even cite the UN? What are you going to do about it? Is basically the ethos of Israel. And so what are people doing about it? They're getting on boats and they're trying to break the blockade, and they didn't get all the way, but they got further than any unauthorized humanitarian vessel has gotten in 2009, which of course tells you another thing, that this has been an illegal blockade for a very long time, not just for the past 2 years.
Yeah, this is where, you had some really, frankly, dumb takes going on about the last flotilla, that this is publicity, the people are doing it for PR. People in our space. And I was really surprised to hear that, especially because none of these people did that from the flotilla. None of these people said that from the flotilla. Listen,
Right.
I don't care what you think about any individual person who gets on there. You are taking your fucking life in your hands getting on these flotillas. We all know that Israel thinks nothing of murdering activists, of murdering journalists, of murdering children. The only reason they haven't killed any of these flotilla members is they have made the calculation that it's just not worth the blowback to do it. That is the only reason. Otherwise, they would happily blow the whole flotilla out of the water. And you never know if they change their mind about that, because they certainly are not holding back for ethical or humanitarian reasons. So at any given time, they could decide, what we're going to do? We're going to blow up the boat and say we accidentally rammed it while trying to lawfully intercept it. Like, you don't know what they're going to do. You get on one of these, you're taking your life in your hands. And the reason for doing it is not necessarily, this seemed to be a lot of the argument, well, you're not going to get the aid. And it's not even about that. I mean, you hope to, but it is for this. Look at how they've built the backlash and built the momentum. It's to focus that attention, and it is to draw attention to the contradictions. It is to draw attention to the fact that the Western world, primarily the Western world, is so bent on propagandizing people into thinking a genocide is okay. And you cannot reveal that more clearly. You cannot make that more stark than you can by delivering food, medicine, and formula to a starving people and getting intercepted and arrested and branded as Nazis by this state committing a genocide. It heightens the contradictions to a level that the propaganda that they're trying to deploy on the populations is ineffective. That's the purpose of doing it, to undermine the legitimacy of the Israeli state and anyone who might support it.
And also, yes, I mean, I agree with all of that, obviously. But I think another big part of it, too, is to heighten contradictions and force diplomatic tensions between these other countries and Israel by creating a demand for that from within. In other words, you have the Italian working class, which we're going to cover in a separate segment all by itself. But let's not even use that example for this segment. Then we use something else, whatever. France, right? People start protesting in France because they have people on that flotilla and they are now in Israeli custody. Right. And
Right.
what if, God forbid, something terrible happens to them? That creates a headache for the French government. And you do that over and over again in as many places as possible by bringing as many people together for these flotillas as possible. At a certain point, these governments are going to have to start asking, is this worth it? Is it worth it? Like,
Right.
like how committed are we to Israel that it's going to create these kinds of headaches within our country?
Right.
We're going to have street protests. We're going to have our citizens being held in foreign prisons, and then we're going to have to worry about how Israel treats them. At what point is it the prudent thing to do to simply cut ties? I think you force that conversation when you do this, and that's part of what makes it so brave, is that they are volunteering their bodies to be used in that way. Right? Because God forbid something happens, that creates major tension back home. And at a certain point, these countries are going to have to just ask themselves, and hopefully our country will one day ask itself, why are we doing this for this country? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's the kind of questions that are raised from this, and they're questions that are going to have to be litigated, because the only way this stops, you're talking about a country with nuclear weapons, okay? You're talking about a psychotic society with a psychotic government that is armed to the teeth with apocalyptic weaponry. The only way you are going to rid the world of this cancer that is Zionism is by mounting diplomatic pressure over time. The only way it will happen. I know that's not satisfying for a lot of people, but that is it. That is it. And this is a big part of that effort.
You know what? I'm gonna share this, leave people on a little bit of a hopeful note. I wanted to make sure this was true because I only saw it in a tweet. Do you have it?
No.
Oh yeah, you got to put these on screen now. Colombia expels Israeli diplomats, suspends free trade pact after Gaza flotilla detentions. That's it, man. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Good for Colombia. So yeah, man, you're gonna see more and more countries do this. You've seen it with Ireland. You've seen it with Spain. This is why I keep saying, and I know, some people think I'm being too optimistic. I don't think so, man. I don't think there will be an Israel in 5 to 10 years. Not as we know it. I do not think they're going to be able to survive the level of disdain and international isolation that they're going to face, particularly given that their greatest backer, the United States, I don't expect to be in the position the rest of the world in 5 to 10 years that it is now. I don't think it's going to have the power to resist a world that is overwhelmingly anti-Israel. You're seeing it in more and more reports of Israelis when they travel abroad, man. They're getting protested. They're getting screamed at in restaurants. Most of the kind of people who go live in Israel, they're not down for that, man. They're not down for that. They don't want to be stigmatized around the world. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to live in basically a third world country that nobody wants to come visit. Like, these people tend to be PMC-ish kind of people, man. They're not going to want to live in those circumstances. Between the massive brain drain that they're already going through, you are going to see capital flight. These things, this is the calm before the storm. This is the moment where you have these ghouls like Peter Thiel and Bill Ackman still pouring money into Israel. I think it's sunk cost fallacy, man. I think that is throwing good money after bad. Obviously, they're driven ideologically to do that, but I think these are desperate attempts to prop up a state that is doomed. You cannot survive as a state with the entire world against you, but for one or two countries. That's not sustainable.
Please clap.